What's up, world? This is your guy, Guitar K, and today's topic is, if you don't know, open your mouth and ask, man. Come on, man. Why we don't like asking for help? A closed mouth don't get fed. You gotta be hungry for information. You gotta be hungry for knowledge. You gotta be hungry for answers. There's nothing wrong with asking for help. Three of the most underused words in adult language and adult life period is, I don't know. Come on, man. Look, contrary to popular demand, it's English.
What?
Say it with me. I don't know. Look, it rolls off the tongue so beautifully. So why do we make it such a hard thing to say? Pride, ego. Look, all that's going to keep you stuck. That's going to keep you dumb at the end of the day. If you don't know, open up your mouth and ask. Look, man, admitting when you don't know something is going to make you smarter at the end of the day. How are you going to get better if you don't acknowledge your weaknesses, get better at your weaknesses, strengthen yourself in those areas? People always want to talk about what they know already. Look, man, leave that at home. We know what you know. You know what you know. Let's talk about what you don't know, because that's the only way that you're going to grow. Look, man, if you want to step in a room where you always the best and you always the smartest, man, leave that room alone. Get out of that room. If you're the smartest of your friends, get some new friends, man. Look, you're never going to be able to level up if you are at the top level of your circle. You need to get in the bottom level of an upper level circle so they can strengthen you, so they can make you better. Look, man, at the end of the day, I get it. It feels good when everybody all looking up to you like you the top of the top and you the creme de la creme. But look, you stay stuck like that. You stay stagnant. That brings on a attitude of feeling like you're better. That's why your pride's so boosted. That's why your ego's so boosted. That's why you feel uncomfortable when you're around people where you feel like they know some things that you don't know. And at the end of the day, ask them, how can you learn what they know? Broaden your horizons. Be open-minded. Stay teachable. Stay reachable. The more you know, the more you grow. How you going to grow, like I said, if you only want to talk about what you know? Look, check this out, man. You could be having a conversation. It could be two people that's knowledgeable on a certain subject. And the third person, he's not knowledgeable on the subject, but he might know somebody that is. Just to get in said conversation, he will start talking about the person that he know that knows something about that. It could be two astronauts talking. These guys is geniuses. These guys is rocket scientists. So they talking about algebra and trigonometry and the angles to get to the moon and total crazy stuff that I don't know. This guy don't know. But he'll start speaking of stuff that he's seen in the movie or something. So these guys are talking about, you know, how they're going to send this rocket to the moon. The third party guy was like, well, yeah, you know, I seen Armageddon. You know, Bruce Willis's character was real brave at the end when he sacrificed his life. Boy, what does that have to do with the price of tea in China? Nothing. Be quiet. Just listen to these guys talk. You might be able to absorb some information that's going to broaden your horizon to get you closer to becoming a rocket scientist. But no, you want to talk about Bruce Willis and Armageddon. Now, granted, that was a great movie. It was a great character. And yes, at the end, when he sacrificed his life, my eyes did get a little bit watery. But at the end of the day, man, look, there's nothing wrong with putting the cotton in your mouth and opening your ears and just listening to some people sometimes. Don't let your pride and ego make you feel like you always got to chime in and have something to add to the conversation. If you don't know what you're talking about, if you don't know what they're talking about, just sit back and listen, man, or ask a question. Stop making statements all the time, man. Look. Grandma and them had it right. You know, they never let our egos get too big. You could have came home with a straight A report card, all except for an A-. She gonna start talking about that A-. You be like, Grandma, look, I got all A's. She be like, hold up. What about this A- right here? But I'm saying, Grandma, I got all these A's. You want to talk? Boy, look, I don't want to talk about all of that. You could have got all A's. What went wrong in this one class where you got this A-? That's what I'm talking about, man. We like to boost ourselves up with ego and pride and talk about what we always doing right. But in order to get better and keep leveling up, you got to talk about what you don't know. You got to focus on your weak areas. You got to be Dropping the pride, dropping the ego, and ask questions as to get better in what you don't know. People thought I was so smart in school. I rarely failed the test. I rarely got any answers wrong because I always raised my hand and I always asked questions. You know, at the end of a lecture, at the end of a discussion, the teacher or the speaker, they'll always say this. So, does anybody have any questions? Most of the time, people will just sit there. They have questions and stuff, but they're too embarrassed or I don't know what. They don't want to ask questions. They don't want to seem dumb. They don't want to seem stupid. Look, if you don't know and you want to know, raise your hand and ask the question instead of failing the test and then looking all crazy. That's just crazy. Don't be too ashamed to ask questions, man. It's the only way you're going to learn. Look, man, and I get it, man. With all this social media and all of this going on, don't get me wrong, I love social media. It puts a couple dollars in my pocket at the end of the day. Chump change, really, but a couple dollars nonetheless. But I get it with all of this. You can be what you're going to be in a living color. People would rather look like they got it rather than to really get it. At the end of the day, that's crazy. That's what some Three Little Pig thinking. Y'all out here building straw houses and stick houses instead of asking that person that got that brick house, where the bricks at? How do I put in the work? I like what you got there. I want to learn how to do it. Nah, we'd rather just go out and gather up some sticks and straw, build that little fragile ass house on that weak ass foundation. So soon as that big bad wolf coming, you know he coming because he always do. And he blow our house down. Now we looking crazy. Look, man, we can't live like that no more. We got to drop the pride, drop the ego, and say those 3 magic words. And no, it's not I love you. I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. Can you teach me? Can you show me? I like how your promised land is looking, and I would like to get there. Show me what you know. I'm ready to learn. Look, man, and I believe that at the end of the day, like I said, it's all ego and pride. We got to leave that alone. I don't care what the person look like. I don't care if he's black, white, Chinese, Irish, whatever, man. If he got what I want, I got to drop my pride and ego. I don't care how he talk, how he sound, if he fat, skinny, if it's a him, her. It don't matter, man. If you are ready to learn, you got to be open-minded. And you got to be willing to sit there, put the cotton in your mouth, take the cotton out your ears, ask questions, and get that thing down, man. Study. Be like Bruce Lee. Study the masters, and you will become a master, man. Drop the pride. Drop the ego. Ask them how they did it. Start doing what they did and start becoming your true self. This is your guy, Guitar K. Be more